Hi guys, welcome to Primetime Mitch, and we're close to Halloween, so it's got to be horror content. And today I am very, very happy to welcome the team behind ZombieCON Volume 1, Kyle Valle and Erin Áine. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for
Wonderful.
having us.
Yes, thank you so much for having us on. And this is our daughter, Áine.
This is a joy.
She's
This is
joining
a
us
first.
today as well. Yes.
The youngest ever person to appear on Primetime Mitch. I'm very, very happy. This is a day of celebration. So guys, you look very happy, and I'm not surprised. I had the privilege of watching your movie. Thank you for sending me a private screening of that. I really appreciate it. Basically, I just want to know straight away, tell me the story behind ZombieCON Volume 1.
Well, the inception of the idea came from visiting my brother down in Florida. He collects like a million movie props. He always has. And since he's gotten older, it's just the collection has grown to an exceptional margin. Like, it's basically a museum. And we were thinking about doing a feature film after doing a bunch of shorts, and we couldn't figure out what idea we wanted to go with. Zombies were always something that we were like, that'd be great to do, but how do we put a new spin on it? And I was walking through the house and I saw a Captain America shield on the wall. And I was like, wow, I would love to like kill a zombie with that. That would be awesome. And then I was like, oh, you could use this prop for self-defense. You could use this, you could use that. Okay. And then that naturally rolled over into, well, who would have all of this stuff other than like a movie prop collector? And I was like, oh, wait, I'm a cosplayer. I have a lot of this stuff. And then Cosplayers vs. Zombies was born.
Is there a lot of you guys in the cosplay side of this movie?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's like basically the know-how to how to craft the armor and like actually build out the EVA foam, and also knowing how durable that stuff is. And I did do a bite test on it because I was like, I don't want to be a complete fool. Like, will it actually stand up to a zombie bite? So I covered it, in Plasti Dip, gave it a nice bite. I was like, yeah, I actually think that this might be too good because it's so flexible that it's almost impossible to bite through. So, yeah.
We conducted scientific experiments.
Yeah, that was our scientific research, our R&D process.
The reason I think this movie makes a lot of sense, and I was on board it when I was watching it, is that it is cosplayers. They are imaginative people. They've got a lot of character. They are some very dramatic people as well. So being in this kind of situation suits. Was it always just, I want to do a film about cosplay, or was it, I want to do a film about zombies?
It was kind of both. Like, honestly, if we had had a bigger budget, we may have gone in a different direction. Maybe it would have been like, cosplayers going to a con, and it would have been all about that. But with the $60,000 budget, the meager resources we had, we barely were able to get that convention scene together for the beginning of the movie. It's just a lot of personnel, a lot of extras, a lot of money. So it may have gone in a different way, but I'm kind of a sci-fi horror guy, so honestly, it probably would have had some sort of mystical element where fighting was involved, because I like action movies, I like horror movies, and zombies, it's like a dream to get to do a zombie movie. And for my first film, I'm like, it kind of is a rite of passage for directors. Like, yeah,
Kyle writes so many scripts too, and he definitely always gravitates towards a mystical element, a sci-fi type element. I'm pretty sure that when like a straight drama or something is on the board, you're like, yeah, but that's kind of boring. Like, we can add a little bit of something in there.
Yeah.
Well, navigating life is hard, but navigating life with zombies is harder.
And the zombie also package kind of just wrapped it up. Wrapped it up in a nice little bow. So we knew it'd be a little bit easier to market as well. Like Kyle was saying, it's a nice kind of entry into feature filmmaking, rite of passage. People know kind of what they're going to expect. You don't need to explain as much about the characters like a drama. They're coming in for the zombies when the name zombie is in the title. And then you throw in the cosplayers for some fun and a different angle and something new to the genre. And you get ZombieCON Volume 1.
Can you confirm for me, because I know, Kyle, you directed it. Erin, you are named as a writer. Was that solely your role, other than the obviously acting in it? Did you take over the writing completely?
Kyle was like the story creator, lead writer on this. definitely that was his whole bailiwick. I produced as well, and I was the second assistant director. But just like with any indie film, like we all wore so many hats. I mean, it's insane. So I think I was script supervisor. I was head of crafty every morning. I was driving out and getting, donuts and things and coordinating the paperwork. And with the 1 or 2 PAs, we were able to work out with our friends. So it was like a wardrobe supervisor over here, you name it. It's kind of like we had a tiny, maybe 5 or 6 max crew at any time. So we were all just like plugging up potholes as they happened, basically.
Yeah, and you were assistant editor as well.
That's right. Wow. That's right.
So for the 10 years in post-production, I try to make a scene longer. Like, this is great dialogue. No, the movie's already too long. Cut it. Cut it right now.
We've had so many practical and theoretical philosophical conversations about this film you wouldn't even believe.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose with it being like with independent movies and with low budget movies, there is that you get, because you have smaller amounts of people involved, you get a nice little pool of ideas. And I imagine it's quite easy to work together to eventually come up with something that everyone's cool with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Getting it's really, it felt like being in France in like the 1920s with a group of artisans who were all kind of creatively like jiving off one another. So someone would kind of throw in one idea, that idea would evolve. And even on set, this kind of continued. I mean, it almost had to. We shot the movie in a little less than 30 days. We were all totally exhausted, and we're really kind of leaning on each other to cover the holes that we had in our game because of the lack of sleep. Or, well, I guess we have less sleep now, honestly.
Oh, of course, yeah, I understand that.
We did. But yeah, it was very much a creative team effort. And we had done things prior to this. We had done some short films all together, especially the main cast. And we had done like a couple web series. So we had that kind of unspoken dialogue between performer, director, and production crew. So we kind of moved as a single unit, especially towards the end of the shoot. I mean, we did film the finale almost at the end of the entire shooting process, which would not have been possible at the beginning because it was so complex compared to a lot of the other of the film that, us having had, 20 days in the can of working together and working in this kind of guerrilla filmmaking format, it helped us a lot.
Flipping back just for a minute, because I'm curious, could you tell me the work you'd done prior to this that sort of led up to it?
Sure. We had done some short films. The names are all over there: Stakeout, Modern Medicine, Mirage. Some of them were war films. I think one was like a cop drama. It was really just to try to learn the craft of filmmaking. I started as an actor. Erin started as an actor. I had a lot of anxiety about the auditioning process. So I thought maybe by trying to make my own short films, I could get to understand the casting process more, get to understand the filmmaking process more, relieve that anxiety. And I thought it would benefit me as an actor. And I just fell totally in love with directing. And I was like, oh, I don't know why I ever wanted to do acting. This is I love telling people what to do. This is fantastic.
Well, I was going to ask you, and you've probably just answered it. What do you prefer more? Do you prefer to be in front of the camera or behind it?
If I ever got an opportunity to be on like a big motion picture where, they've got the trailers and the PAs and someone, I snap my fingers and someone shows up with a coffee or something, I feel like being in front of the camera would be a dream because it's like, you basically got someone with a big, palm leaf fanning you as you're doing your work.
That's the
dream. Of course, the acting is still challenging, but that would be awesome. But no, I'm a kind of a control freak. So the directing, it just fits my personality. So I don't know. It would depend on the production size and kind of what we were doing. Ultimately, both.
I want to ask you, I've just looked at your backdrop there. You got some fantastic books on that shelf and some very interesting pieces of paraphernalia on the top one. So I'm going to ask you, based on the top shelf there, the physical, practical effects used in this film, how it looks. What were your methods and what were your favorite methods that you got to use? Because obviously a zombie movie like that, you can be as creative and as nasty as possible with your ideas. So what was your favorite moments from that?
I'd have to say basically the abuse of the blood sprayer, which was in fact it was a weed. So we had a fantastic makeup artist on this shoot. His name is Joseph Drabesco. He should be doing like $100 million films, like cannot get better than him. And really an artisan at heart. And introduced me to what we would use as the blood sprayer, which was like a weed sprayer. So you know, hand pump it up, and he actually watered down the blood so it was a little less viscous.
Yeah.
And that thing could just spray literally blood from across the room in any direction as long as you kept the pressure going. And we did abuse that, obviously, in the film a lot to get those like anime style blood sprays and, you know, put it everywhere. Apart from that, his makeup effects, I was a huge fan of. He created custom molds. I kind of explained to him how I wanted the evolution of the zombie to happen over the course of the film. And so he had these custom resin molds built for all of the prosthetics that were used. And then the sword stabs and I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like a heart grab, which was a lot of fun to kind of construct and how we put that together. So I guess I really didn't answer the question because I just named basically all of them. So if I got to put my finger on one, it would be the abuse of the blood sprayer.
Well, it was effective because I think at times there's only so much somebody's facial expressions can do, and like the score, there's only so much you can do with that. You need that effect that's going to prolong it a little bit more, and I think that does the job. And I did notice it was very anime-like as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was a lot of the intention with this film. Was I've been an anime fan since I grew up in the early 90s. So I was like, in my world, it was like the dark ages of anime. We had Toonami with like Dragon Ball Z and Yu Yu Hakusho, and then that would only come on couple times a week, and then the seasons would continually restart. You could never finish anything, and bootleg VHS tapes. It's like before DVDs were even a thing.
Of course.
Good days. Although nowadays the amount of content out there and the ability to watch basically any anime and get manga from Japan, like literally on your phone, is just, I mean, it's been awesome. Yeah, that's where that inspiration came from. And I wanted to inject as much of that as possible into the film. Hello.
Welcome back. I'd love to know what your inspirations were before going into filmmaking, and certainly for this movie as well, because there's a lot of vibes of movies from decades before in there. I'm just curious as to what was in your head.
So I've been kind of a cinephile my entire life. My dad is like a huge sci-fi guy and got me into like Aliens really young. That's his favorite movie. Oh, wow. And it imprinted on me like hardcore. So, James Cameron, obviously a legend. That was a lot of my inspiration in regards to trying to mimic the film-ic elements. But in regards to overall kind of beats or stylistic implementations, especially with the zombies, the Romero universe, of course, the Zack Snyder remake. Oh, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I started with Night of the Living Dead. Like I can remember seeing that at my grandparents' house, sitting on the floor, the black and white version. Like I must have been like maybe 7 or 8 when I saw it for the first time, because I got away with my grandparents watching like more risque movies earlier. Yeah. Where at home, my parents were a little bit more like, on your 12th birthday, you can watch your first rated R movies. So my Uncle Frank would be like, oh, what movie do you want to watch? Just kind of throw it in there.
Yeah. I was thinking actually, when it came to the zombies, there's a particular point in the movie which it stood out for me. And I don't think it's a spoiler because there's no context to it at this stage. But I liked where this sort of said, and you'll know what I mean, obviously, where he says it looks a lot easier in the movies. And I like that self-awareness, because it makes you think that genre movie that have come before it, and then you start seeing little bits of it along the way, like, that reminds me a little of 28 Days Later, or that reminds me a little bit of it. So that little bits of Evil Dead in there and things like that, So I like that one line. Were you deliberately trying to be self-aware in this?
Oh, yeah, especially because the characters are, I tried to write them as close to home as possible. And you obviously since we're such good friends with the actors, use their personalities and inject them in the writing process so that, the acting job was, wasn't too far of a stretch, apart from those extremely dramatic scenes, but also because it's highlighting their personalities, taking the high end of it, elevating it even higher, low end, putting it down further, and creating that dynamic kind of experience for them as actors to really play within. But in regards to the character types, try to write them as close to me as possible, as like a fan of all of this pop culture stuff, zombies, horror movies, basically cinema in general, and utilize the knowledge that I've amassed from watching all of that in basically writing these characters and how they would deal with the problem. So yes, self-aware in the way that, yes, we're in a movie and he's referencing movies, but in a way that someone who is a fan of movies in that actual reality would be referencing the situation.
And I have to throw in that the one huge character difference was Manny Luke playing Rocket is like the nicest guy in the world. He's like not ill-tempered, never loses in any way his temper, like angry, bitter. No, that's not Manny. So that was like the big acting challenge in terms of his character not being written around him at all. Well, you agree. Manny's awesome.
Well, she's auditioning for Jurassic Park. She's starting her pterodactyling phase, is what I'm told this is.
Well, she's smashing it at the moment. I mean, that series needs a big boost. So there you go.
We've been completely unable to go to the movie theater since she was born, unfortunately. But we did, with Jurassic Park coming out on VOD recently, we watched it in 30-minute increments. It's a little bit, having been able to grow up and see the original Jurassic Park in theaters, it's tough to see where that's gone. But I get it's for the kids, so hopefully, at least they're keeping the franchise alive. So hopefully we'll get a new Jurassic Park that hits closer to the first one at some point.
And our daughter is getting her franchise education. She's got a Ghostbusters book here.
You're doing all the right things.
Of course.
You've now done a zombie movie. Is there a subgenre you really want to tackle next?
Well, I got to be honest. So we've got a lot of these ZombieCon Volume 2 through 5. They're all written, and I would love to direct those because they do delve into different subgenres as the movies continue. But if I could direct anything right now, I would love to do a live action remake of Berserk. Like, that would be...
I wasn't expecting that.
I could always go sci-fi as well. And honestly, getting the chance to direct anything is great. But I've been obsessed with the manga. Like, I got the actors, like, before we started shooting ZombieCon, I really wanted to have them dive deep on anime just because it had so much to do with the film. So I had them sit down and watch one of the animated versions of Berserk, not the 1997 version. I think it's the 2012 version or something. And ever since we had that one viewing, I've been kind of obsessed with the idea of being able to actually film a live action version of the anime, just thinking none of the animes themselves really caught it perfectly. I mean, it would be kind of easier than many anime to adapt to live action. I don't know. That's just kind of where my mind is going right now. But I could easily be turned.
It's interesting that you chose a movie that is so heavily influenced by anime, certainly with the, like you said, with the blood splatter and things like that, because in anime, there's an awful lot of cosplay attached to that world. So you've given a movie that many people in that world can relate to in some way.
That's was kind of the goal, but also that's just kind of who I am. So, never seeing myself represented truly in a movie, it just happened to pair with, it's a kind of an unsung portion of the fandom, especially in America. I don't know how it is for the rest of the world, but, anime as a subculture really only gained, I think, pop culture relevance in terms of the mainstream addressing it or talking about it in the last maybe 7 years, maybe a little bit less than that. And it's been growing in fandom since the 90s, of course. But, even with the movies doing well at the box office, no one really talks about it. Everyone kind of shoos it away. It doesn't win awards. It, doesn't really make as big of a mark as I think it should, because it's a fantastic art form just in general.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's a similar in terms of the recognition it gets to horror. So you mix the two, and it's a perfect marriage, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of elements of both that really cross over. There's a ton of elements of horror that cross over to anime, and then so many of the sub variants of anime are truly kind of horror specific. So they both complement each other, and they work well, I think, when put together. And I appreciate you saying that. I don't want to speak too glowingly about my own film. It feels a little bit narcissistic, but that's at least what we try to do here.
Well, what I try to do on this channel, I've always said, with independent movies and low budget movies, all I ever look at is the idea. I'm not looking for immense quality to the point where it's being judged alongside blockbusters. I just want to see a good idea and it's solidly executed. And one thing I did glow up about this movie was how it looked. I thought the lighting and just the production quality was so high. Is that something you were aware of before, or did it only take you watching it afterwards to realize how good it looked?
That's a really tough question, because in the filming, right, we were filming in basically log, so everything was totally desaturated. So I could see the colors live, but I was holding the camera for most of the time. So I'm looking at like this tiny little LCD monitor on the back of the C300 Mark II, and it's all desaturated. And I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like, of course, with especially those dramatic lighting elements, like in the tunnels with the red light or the green light specific. But I knew it was going to really come to life in the color correct, because I'd been coloring for, I don't know, the previous like 3 or 4 years when we were doing all these shorts and stuff. And I was like, I wonder how far we can bend and push the colors and create enough variation with these, single use colors to both create depth in the film and also have that primary color be, both the backdrop color, the highlight color, and, basically fill in everywhere else. So yes and no, because it really wasn't until the color correct that I could really see what it was actually going to be. And that was a lot of power windows and highlighting different things and pulling and shifting a lot of the stuff we had on set to achieve, I guess, a more polished look.
Well, that was it. It was. I remember when it first came on, and I was like, "This looks really nice." So that's like a box ticked already for me. But I did think, and this is sort of a leading on, but a different question, with the scenes in the tunnel. Before it, we'd had a lot of there's a lot of comedy involved. It's sort of scratching the surface of horror with what's going on, but there's an awful lot of comedy. But then when it gets in the tunnel, it's starting to feel like, well, there is actually a movie called The Tunnel, which is very similar in terms of the setting. But it's like, Descent came to mind. There's the scene in Cloverfield in the subways, things like that I was getting. And that's when it starts getting full-on horror. Did you sort of want a balance in this, or were you sort of just trying to hit them with little bursts of scares?
I think it was definitely meant to be a trajectory, like kind of a roller coaster, right? So first we had to introduce the cosplay elements for people who may not be familiar with cosplay, because it is, even though it's such a large group of people, it's still somewhat niche. Like people would still call them costumes or think it's Halloween. What is everyone doing dressed up?
Yeah.
So having to introduce that element at the top and trying to make it like very similar to an anime kind of archetype where we've got a little bit of everything, but as the series continues and we kind of are opening up the can of worms for the bad guys, or in this case, right, the zombies, things are getting more and more serious. And as they're descending right into the tunnels, it's kind of like, okay, it's like a little bit of that Dante's Inferno type thing. We're going down, right? So the entire tonality of the film is going down. The colors are being stripped away. Everything's getting more serious, and we're stripping away basically all of that vibrant color show that we had in the beginning, especially in the opening con scene, and reducing it down to kind of the more primalness of the situation. And they're out of their element, of course. They're out of the house, right? This is totally unfamiliar and uncharted territory, and trying to just raise the stakes while also creating a more terrifying atmosphere for them.
I don't know about this kind of thing, and I'm always curious to know what directors and writers think of this sort of thing. But when you make a movie and people watch it and make their own minds up about it and what it means. I spoke to a horror author recently, and he said, I wrote something that I just wanted to be gross. And people came up and went, no, it means this, and it means this societal reference. And he was like, no, I just wanted it to be gross. When you were making this movie and when you guys were writing it, did you have underlying messages in there, or did you just want to have fun with it and then see what everybody else could find within it?
The underlying message that was definitely intended to be there was kind of making, and I don't want to spoil anything. I don't think it is, but it's, being able to make your own mind up about like being an asshole and kind of choosing your own destiny.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something that I tried to thread through each of the interactions as we continued on the story. In regards to little things people have found, it has been wildly interesting to hear the feedback, because some of the things I'm like, oh, that wasn't intended, but that makes total sense. And in regard to it being incorporated in the writing process, I'd have to think that because the three of us were kind of sitting in a circle as we went through the story and kind of wrote it, I have to think that a lot of that, although it wasn't intentional or wasn't verbalized in the writing process, was just internally intentional. It's just the same way that, anytime someone creates a story, you're drawing from your experience. So stories you've seen, movies you've watched, books you've read, and that influences your behavior in real life. And then whenever you go to create something creative, it's going to have a carryover effect, because it's really that makes up who you are as a person and who you are as a writer.
Yeah, I find everyone's interpretations of things fascinating, especially when they're not intended, because it's almost like they're molding it into something of their own. Like you said, just it's yours to do what you want with, sort of thing. A bit like a poem.
And everyone has a different interpretation of the characters, and they mean something different based on their personal experiences in life and the path that they've taken and walked. And that's it's really lovely to see how people's own experiences change their experience of like this film in particular, but of any work of art, which is really cool.
Agreed. I was going to, Erin's not here actually. I was going to ask, I had a question for her, but obviously duty calls. So, oh, is she?
Yelled up the stairs. It looks like we've now got a baby for at least a small portion of time.
Took a tour outside. We looked at the trees.
Oh, I haven't seen the trees all day.
Right now it's sitting down for a 6-month-old.
Here, why don't I hold her?
Sitting down still is just not what she's interested in. Go.
Erin.
Yes.
I've seen like stills from the movie since I watched it, and obviously the opening scene is sort of a big part of that. But what was it like to have that almost sort of Scream Queen, blood-soaked image of you brought to life? How did that feel?
It was the most fun thing in the world. It was so cool. I had no idea what to expect. I mean, we'd gone over the scene. I had seen the plan about the blood sprayer, but we didn't have time or the money for a dress rehearsal with it or anything. So... and we had to do basically as soon as the blood started flowing, that first take needed to be right, because we couldn't have gone back and done it again. We didn't have the budget, the time, everything. And so it was like momentous, epic. It was adrenaline pumping. I don't think I needed to act much in terms of the adrenaline. Like, it was there. But the cool part about it was that when I have the katana and I'm heading to get Devin, it's actually Kyle holding the camera right there in place of the zombie ex-boyfriend Devin. And I'm charging at him in this like already by now blood slick floor with these platform wedge sneakers that have no traction. And I know I gotta nail this. I'm giving it my all, but I'm so worried I'm also gonna stab Kyle and the camera. So that was a little bit worrying. And the second that happens, there's like the full face of blood starts hitting you. Because Joe, our makeup artist, who's awesome, was just right off camera, just right in the face. It was kind of colder than you'd expect. There was more than I would have expected. It was going everywhere. And then you got, of course, the rockets, the actors surrounding me, all screaming too. What are you doing? It was chaotic. It was amazing. I wish that I could do that scene over and over again. It was one of the most fun things in the world.
See, that's almost like a cosplay in itself, I think. It's like, I don't know, Carrie or something. But you're becoming something that is what has made some of the most classic horrors ever. So you're almost living your own dream there, aren't you? That's
such a good way to put it. I felt like I had my Uma Thurman Kill Bill moment. But at the time, that's what it felt like. That was what was coming to mind. I was like, yes, I need to cross this one off my bucket list. That's amazing.
So what has this inspired you to do next? What is next for you guys?
I mean, hopefully ZombieCON 2 would be absolutely amazing. We're hoping to be in pre-production next year. I think Kyle mentioned earlier, ZombieCON 2 to 5 are already all written. More of the series is mapped out. It's epic. It gets bigger, more action-packed. The world gets bigger. There's a time jump. It's amazing. But we're working on getting all that lined up now. We also have a couple other things in development that we can't really talk about. One or two of those might be panning out beforehand. It's kind of just a game on timing there. But we do have more scripts as well that are always looking to collaborate with other independent artists. And you never know. So hopefully ZombieCon Vol 2.
And to throw a Hail Mary out to the internet, Warhammer 40,000 would love to be the director on Warhammer 40,000 and bring the elements of chaos to life.
You heard it here. I'm just going to let you guys close off. I'm going to give the floor to you. And if you want to tell us where we can find your work, where we can learn about you, your media links, whatever, it's all yours. I'm going to put it down in the description, but I'll let you go first with that.
Awesome. So if you want to find out more about ZombieCon Vol 1, all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, they're all at ZombieCon Movie. Just like that, no symbols or anything. And our website is zombieconvol1.com. I'm the one running most of the social media, so shoot us a DM. Let us know what you thought of the movie. It's been amazing hearing, all the reviews and everything and the outpouring of love. So let us know your thoughts. We're here. We'd love to know.
Yes, indeed. What she said. She's the boss.
Well, thanks, guys. I've really appreciated having you on the channel. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to see the movie. If you get a chance to see this movie, please let me know what you thought in the comments. If you've got any questions for Kyle or Erin, please drop them down there. I'm sure they'll be answered. And yeah, just thanks, guys, for coming on. It'd be nice to have you on again sometime.
Oh, we would absolutely love to. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a blast. Anytime, just shoot us an invite. We will be here. Maybe Anya will be joining us. Maybe she'll be napping. We'll see. Time will tell.
Maybe she'll be starring in ZombieCon Volume 17 or something.
There we go.
So thanks, guys. If you've enjoyed today's video, please do me the honor of liking and subscribing. Hit that notification bell for more videos of this nature. And from myself, from Kyle and Erin, and ZombieCon Volume 1, like I said, go check it out if you can. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks a lot.